And living this way, I'm surrounded by my favorite people on the planet. And each of them has a different take on who I am, and they reflect it back to me. So I feel like I know myself more in 3 dimensions. The strength of the feedback, like I'm getting constant feedback from the people that I live with about who I am and, what I do well and what, I could probably work on a bit. So yeah, it's like I have a bit of I feel like I have a more 3-dimensional image of myself in my mind, thanks to the people that I live with.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Well, welcome to episode 370. We're Finn and Emma, and today we are excited to bring you a conversation with Christy, Rebecca, David, and Jason. This is
Those names might sound familiar?
Just might, yes. If you've been paying attention at all, the last 3 weeks we've been releasing episodes with each of these dyads, and today we're bringing you an episode with all of them together.
It's amazing.
Yes.
It's about the vibe, y'all.
It is about the vibe, y'all. That'll make sense when you listen.
And if it doesn't make sense, you need to keep listening because you haven't listened enough.
Yes, keep listening.
But this is an amazing conversation about how these four amazing humans, plus Christy's sister and Christy and Jason's toddler, all live together in harmony. Maybe not always harmony, but a lot of harmony.
A lot of it. A lot of it.
And
6 humans in one house.
And 11 chickens and cats.
Oh,
and
yeah.
All the stuff.
Yeah.
Again, you're going to get so much out of this episode. You don't have to have listened to their previous one or even the conversations that we did over the last few weeks for this to be a mind-blowing interview. So please enjoy it. I will just make one quick note on the audio. When you put 4 people in a room without a microphone or not on separate microphones, sometimes they talk over each other. Sometimes the audio gets canceled out. And I just wanted to acknowledge that up front because there are a few moments where it's hard to hear exactly what's happening, but they're very few and far between. And we love this conversation. We hope you get a ton out of it.
Yes, we're so excited to bring these 4 back together on the podcast for round 2. The last time we talked to them was 5 years ago. So
yes,
lots has changed.
And if you want to go back and listen to that episode or all of the different dyad pairs that we've talked to over the years, you can find out more on our website at normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Click on the podcast tab, and there you will see podcast show notes for every single episode we've ever put out, most of them including photos of our guests, including all 4 of these beautiful people today.
Yes.
And we hope you enjoy this conversation.
And with that, for anyone who is a premium subscriber, we will jump into the interview right now. And for anyone else, we are going to go through a few announcements. First up, if you're not familiar with the premium subscription, it's a way to skip these announcements up front, but don't worry, you still get important dates that we want to share with you about upcoming events in the outro. To sign up for the premium subscription for $4 a month, go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, scroll down on the homepage.
And you'll see it right there.
Yes.
And while you're on our homepage, if you look all the way up at the tip top of the page, there's a banner there for our next virtual speedfriending event coming up this Saturday, December 14th. We'd absolutely love to have you join us. We bring you, hopefully you, and all of our other guests together in Zoom. We put you in small breakout rooms with a question to get you thinking. You talk about that question for 6-7 minutes. Then we scramble the rooms, ask a new question, and do that over and over and over for about 2 hours. And at the end of it, you walk away feeling amazing. You've got new friends and you're ready to go face your family for the holidays.
Exactly. It's a really low pressure way to meet like-minded people. And yeah, so much fun to do and boost your confidence a little bit before going to spend time with over the holidays with people.
Yep. This is your chance. To sign up and learn more, you can click on the banner at the top of our website over at normalizingnonmonogamy.com or click on the events tab and you will find more information there.
A quick reminder that our virtual speed friending events are open to anyone. You just must be open-minded and respectful. And as you know from listening to this podcast, or I would assume that you know, that Finn and I do love creating and building community. And another way that we foster connection is through our virtual community. This is separate from the virtual speed friending events, although I will say a lot of community members join the speed friending events too. But our virtual...
Not 100% overlap.
No.
This isn't like the neurodivergency non-monogamy Venn diagram.
That's, yeah, right. That's an insider joke, I guess.
Unless you've been in here at any moment for any amount of time, you're like, well, maybe it's not a joke. Any whoosies. Back to the community.
Our virtual community is full of over 300 people from all over the world coming together on a regular basis to support one another. We host our community on an app called Mighty Networks. We also host monthly workshops and community discussion calls. We would love for you to check it out. It is only $5 a month to join. Go over to the community tab of our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, for more information and to join us.
Yeah, you mentioned there the workshops, and I just want to say too, these are pretty new. We've started doing these. We started them in November, and
yes,
and we're going to start doing these monthly beginning in January. We've got an amazing workshops coming up. Our first one is about intentional polyamory, creating a life that supports your non-monogamy. We've got one up on shame. We're going to talk about sexual health, all sorts of amazing stuff.
Yes.
I'm pretty excited for these coming up next year, and we'd love to have you check them out.
Yes, so come and join the community.
Yeah, I think you said this already, but it's under the community tab.
It is.
In case it wasn't super obvious.
Yeah, well, in case you missed it.
All right. Well, the other place you want to check out while you're on our website is the resources tab, where Emma and I list a whole bunch of our favorite resources that we've used over the years for our own personal journeys of exploring non-monogamy. And one of our top favorites of all time is stdcheck.com. That is the service that we have used to get tested for STIs for many, many years. It is the service we absolutely love, and we would love for you to check it out as well. Using the links in the show notes and on our resources tab saves you $10, which brings the cost of a 10-panel test down to only $129, and it helps support the show. So thank you for that. Thank you to everybody who's used these links in the past and who's going to use them in the future to have the most seamless, awesome experience getting tested for STIs. I would almost say it's fun.
I mean, it's pretty seamless.
It's close to fun. It's as close to fun as you can have
for an STI test.
For getting stabbed with a needle in the arm. Is what I like to say.
Yeah.
They didn't put that on their website yet. They're lost.
One final announcement we wanted to remind all of you. The holidays are coming up, or even if you're listening to this and it's past the holidays, you can still go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Scroll down on the homepage. You can find our new t-shirts for sale. They say, be kind, humaning is hard. There's t-shirts. You can have it in a sweatshirt, tank top, all of the above. Go check it out. We love them. We hope you do too.
Yep. And the very last thing for real this time is we'd love to have you send us an email, send us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your feedback on the show. We'd love to have you on the podcast. To be honest, all 4 of the people you're hearing today, they reached out to us years ago, said hello, and we're going to their freaking wedding next year.
I know.
So be careful when you reach out. We might be at your wedding with multiple other people. You never know what's going to happen in life.
You never know. You never know.
So you can find that under the Contact Us tab. We'd love to hear from you. And now we're going to jump into this amazing conversation with Christy, Rebecca, Jason, and David.
Let's go.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We got a whole lot of people in the recording studio this evening.
I'm so excited.
6 of us total. So we're going to start by going around and having each of you just briefly introduce yourself, who you're in relationships with, and anything else you want to say about yourself up at the top of the show here. So we're going to just go left to right from as we see you. So Rebecca.
All right. Well, I'm Rebecca, and I am married to David.
Wonderful. And David?
I'm David. I'm married to Rebecca, and I'm partnered with Christy.
Christy.
I'm Christy, and I am partnered with David, and I am married to Jason.
And Jason.
Well, I'm Jason, and I am married to Christy, and we have a son together.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So we just figured it would be helpful up front for everyone to hear everybody's voices, get oriented.
Have a little context.
Yes. And maybe then we're jumping into what is the sort of overall relationship structure that the 4 of you have created, and what does
Well, because we haven't said this yet. You all live together.
Yes.
Yes.
And so maybe starting there, kind of like, what's the structure of living together? And we'll go from there.
Well, the structure of living together is we all live together, as well as with a toddler and my adult sister. And previously, I was married to David, and we have since been unmarried. And Rebecca and David are now married, and me and Jason are now married. Yeah.
Amazing.
We did a marital Chinese fire drill. It's like, all right, everybody's circle over the one seat.
Just throw a license at the next person.
Yeah, just catch it there and just wherever you land, you'll be fine.
Yep. And what was, I mean, we know a little bit about this, but for anybody who's like, what prompted the desire to get unmarried and then get remarried, yet really the partnerships didn't change necessarily?
And before you answer that real quick, like how long have you two, all four of you been living together?
Since 2020.
Okay.
Basically since, so just to give a little backstory, Christy, David, and I decided to move in together in 2020. Christy and I found a house in January of 2020 with a move-in date of March 21st, 2020. And little did we know what would happen. And then once, COVID happened, Christy, David, and I moved into a house together, and we decided to have Jason. We decided to be part of a household, the four of us. We decided early COVID that we were going to be a unit, so that no matter what, we would all stay together during whatever lockdown. We didn't even know what it would look like at that point. But that's when it all started, and we've lived together ever since, and then have added and removed people since then.
And moved.
Like
four times. But now we bought a house.
Yeah.
So it's real.
We just started in San Diego, California. And now we are in Colombia.
So hopefully less moving.
Yes.
Yes.
Lots of moving.
Yeah. There have been a lot of moves.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how the fellowship was born.
The fellowship. and you've all done the thing that many people say they want, the pinnacle experience.
We have chicken.
You have chicken.
That's what you're getting at.
Yep.
We have chickens.
I eat homemade eggs every morning. It's amazing.
You know what they don't tell you about going out to the country and getting chickens is that it's not always summer or spring or fall. And sometimes you have to go out and get the chickens food and water when it's negative 40.
Give them some ice.
Yeah, right.
Well, circling back to
your original question.
Yeah. How did the unmarrying come about, and what came what inspired that?
So the big inspiration of that is the legal and tax benefits. So the legal protections and tax benefits. It didn't make a lot of sense for me and Christy to be the only two people in the household getting those, especially since Christy and Jason have a child together. So it all just makes more sense that me and Rebecca be legally married and Christy and Jason be legally married.
Yeah.
So we felt like that two married couples had more legal protection than one married couple with two single people.
Yeah.
So that was the impetus.
And we like unmarried, not divorced.
Yeah.
Because divorced is a different scenario. But this was just unmarried for remarrying's sake.
Right. Yeah. And I think too, what's amazing, we talked a bit about this a few weeks ago when we talked to David and Christy, right? The impacts that actually had versus what maybe everybody thought was going to be like, oh, no big deal, we'll just do this. And that wasn't necessarily the case in terms of what it brought up inside the partnership. But I will say, go back 2 weeks ago and listen to, or 3 weeks ago and listen to that, because we got other stuff to talk about today.
Previously, House of that.
That's right.
So the fact that I guess there's 5 adults and a toddler, how do you all make it work to live together and run a household together?
How do we answer that? Like
Product manager.
It's very fluid, I think, is the best way that I can encapsulate it. Like, it's nobody's in any particular spot. It's just who has the spoons to deal with this right now. And like, one of the, I think, most powerful things about our house and about that's always kind of, I've been reminded of it every time I've talked to you, Finn and Emma, is we all bring different skills to the table. And we sometimes kind of route our needs towards those people when circumstances dictate. But most of the time, it's just like, who has the spoons to deal with this? I think one of the crazy things is, we each have our superpowers, but by living with these people for the last 4 years, I've gotten way better at the things that I used to be shitty at. Mm-hmm. They've all taught me how to be better at the things that I'm weaker at. And I like to think that it's the same across the three. We've all leveled up in the areas that we were weakest because we had an expert or experts teaching us. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a very fluid thing. It's like, all right, who can handle groceries this week? I've been watching this boy for 6 hours. I need a break. Can somebody take it for 20 minutes so I can go shower? Like, it's kind of as neat, but the longer we've been together and shared the responsibilities, I feel like we just blend a lot of the time without even talking. Like, somebody will look at me and be like, you need to go shower and have a coffee. I'll take it for 20 minutes. Or go.
We also benefit from the fact that we all hate different chores.
That worked out super well.
I could probably list on one hand the number of times I've taken the trash out since we moved to Colorado. Jason is like the trash man, not in a negative way, but like Jason takes out the trash, takes the bins to the street, but like
it's more than taking out the trash. Because like, it is. Jason will balance taking the trash from the trash can to the bigger trash can that's kept in the garage. But Jason, every Friday, it can be snowing sideways, and he'll be dragging them out there before any of us have remembered that it's Friday.
Yeah.
And for that, we are eternally grateful. And for that, I'll wash some extra dishes.
When you think of garbage, think of him.
But we also have a lot of routine and a lot of processes.
Rituals. I like to call them rituals.
But we have a Trello board set up that has bills and that has grocery lists. And we have once a week, we all sit down and we meal plan for the next week and we grocery list for the next week. And
that includes everybody cooking. Like, there's rare weeks where someone doesn't cook, but most weeks is like everybody's cooking at least once.
Which means that, and then we usually have a vendor/leftover night. So most weeks, unless someone wants to, no one's cooking more than once except one person.
And no one's doing dishes more than once.
Because if you cook, you don't do dishes.
Yeah.
So
that's a very big rule here. Is like, because you did all the work to make dinner and you made dinner for 6 people and you don't have to do dishes. There are rare times that we do if like Christy and I are really big on like doing dishes as we cook. So sometimes I'm like, well, I want to do dishes on my night because there's like none to do.
But we have routines that make the house
absolute routines.
We
also pay for a house cleaner, and that is really, really helpful for a house of 6 people with a toddler.
5 people, it's awesome.
Yeah. I highly recommend having 5 incomes.
Yes, that's helpful, right?
Yeah.
I just have to ask, do you each have like standard go-to dishes that you like to cook? I feel like there could be competition here too. Like, who's better cooking?
We all have our things that everyone wants them to cook.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Jason does really tasty lasagna. One of our favorite dishes that we have Christy make a lot is for shrimp scampi. Like, I do Penang curry and like a chicken curry noodle soup that people like. Like we all,
David does the meat.
David does the meat. David does the barbecuing and the smoking and anything with meat.
Brenda does all that Japanese dishes.
Yeah.
My sister does all the Japanese dishes.
So like there's definitely like we have like our meals that we cook. And it's actually funny that you asked that question because in the last 2 weeks, Jason has like branched out onto one of my meals and one of Christy's, which is like interesting because we're both a little like, no.
What's real funny though is that we still get in ruts. We will still get in ruts where we have the same 5 meals for 3 months straight.
Yeah.
But we even like, we have a chalkboard up in our kitchen and we have like chalk pens that we write out the meals every week. So like everybody can look at any time what the meals are, who's cooking, you know? So we've just really curated a really, especially with food, we've really honed in the food.
Well, yeah, because like in the kitchen, it's like, I always think of it as it's like the diner special.
Yeah.
Because it says like every day of the week for the next week, what the meal is and who's cooking it. So.
And one benefit of coming together during COVID is we were locked in together. So we figured out how to play with the space, and we figured out we were always grilling, we were always cooking, we were doing everything, the same thing everyone else did during 2020, and that was put on 30 pounds. Yeah. And so we got really good at cooking, at figuring stuff out.
I will say one thing real quick, because it sounds like we're really obsessed with food, and we are. But for me, I think the important thing about that is, we started this practice during COVID, and we've lived together for 4 years now. That means that
almost 5.
Yeah, almost 5. Like you really get to know somebody when you break bread with them and when you sit with them at a table, and you really get to know somebody when you sit at the table with them 1,200 times, which is, as I counted up, I mean, there are nights away. There's people who like skip dinner for whatever reason, but we're easily over 1,000 meals together.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness.
So it's just like you develop kind of group telepathy. It's kind of crazy. Like we've eaten over 1,000 meals together, and that's not even counting lunch, breakfast.
Now we do breakfast good here.
Okay, so like, breaking bread with somebody is really important, and when you do it almost every day for years on end, you really get into a certain rhythm.
Yeah. Well, and that's.
Oh, go ahead, Christy.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that is like in part of our like daily running. We have dinner together 5 nights out of 7 for sure. We all have dinner together, and
dinner's a ritual.
It's a ritual, and like we have no phones at the table.
We all wait to eat, so we don't start eating.
We all start together. So I feel like that's an important thing that brings us all together.
I think for us, our house is like the heart of our house is our dining room table. We've always put the emphasis on like all being there, being present at dinner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which like takes the craziness of life and slows it down for a little bit each day. Into that connection.
And we're fortunate enough that we have a big enough space that we can all get space when we need it. So we're not all linked arms singing Kumbaya all day long. Throughout most of the day, throughout most of the week, during the day, we're even when we're like me, Rebecca, and Jason all work from home at the same office, and Brandy also works from home, but she works in a different room. We still don't interact a whole lot because we're all have the headphones on in our computers, in our work. So then the dinner table still works like the dinner table of old because it's still us coming together because we hadn't been really throughout the whole day. Yeah. And a lot of times after dinner, we split back up. Mm-hmm. But dinner, we're there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm curious, just again, maybe some just logistical things people listening might be curious about. Do you all have your own bedrooms, or are there shared? Like how do you divide up the space amongst the five?
How does the so I before I met David, I was always like, I'm never living with another human being.
Same.
I am okay to live by myself. And it wasn't until the last house we lived at in San Diego that I was slowly starting to kind of like reopen my space to be like, I could share a room. So David and I now fully share a bedroom. We also have a secondary room because some of the bedrooms in the house are a little smaller. So we have like a secondary room where we have like a couch and the video games. So like,
We call it the den.
yeah, it's our den. So like, I can be in the bedroom hanging out and doing my own thing, and David can do his own thing in the den and play video games all he wants. And there's no like disruption between the two people. But David and I's room is shared. So we share a room now, which feels really good because I was so hesitant to do it before, but I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason and I share a room. And, we had been sharing that room also with a tiny human up until August. And then that tiny human, big, huge air quotes, moved into their own room. But that's not true at all. They do have their own room that they spend some of the night there, some of the time.
He diversifies his sleeping.
And diversified his portfolio.
Right.
So most of the time, me and Jace is me and Jace's bedroom, and also a tiny human. Of course, my sister has her own space, and then we also have a guest room. So we have a guest room for when Jace takes a night off and needs to get some extra sleep. When me and David have a date night and we want to be together. When someone from outside of the house is here, or we have,
having a guest room was definitely
the guest room's like clench.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. You dropped something in there that I wanted to pick up on. And it was something, Christy, you and Jason mentioned a few times in your interview together, but you talked about a night off. And I imagine the concept of a night off probably goes around for all of you. And I'm just curious what that means and how you all balance that.
Yeah. Well, our kiddo is 2.5 years old, thereabouts, which means that we haven't really slept uninterrupted for 2.5 years.
We didn't get one of those sleeping.
No.
We got one of those not sleeping children.
Yeah.
So.
I think, is it one? So, yeah, I mean, we say night off. I sometimes struggle with that term because it sounds like, oh, then the rest of the night's like I'm on like it's work. It is a lot of the time, but it's kind of like a night to yourself, and you get to do what you want with it. So, sometimes Christy and David want to have a date, so I will take the kid by myself overnight and let them take the guest room to have a date. Or sometimes, once a week or every couple of weeks, I would take a night to myself because I like to just read and make music and play video games and get high and, do all the things that I used to do when I lived by myself in a condo for 10 years.
Right.
I just remind myself of that life. I still have a little taste. I just need a little taste.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just breaks that steadily accumulating sleeplessness and feeling like you're just kind of grinding out every day in the same routine a lot of the time. Yeah. Especially when you have a kid that doesn't sleep. So yeah, that's what Christy means when she says a night off. Yeah, it's time to be a person instead of just a parent. Yeah, I cherish it. I value it very much, and I'm very grateful that everybody here facilitates that as well. It really means so much.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, when Christy and Jason came to us and were like, we are talking about having a baby, we all got the opportunity to opt in or out, right? And so we all opted in because we just have such a good house together. And so we'll also take the baby so that Christy and Jason can have time off too. So like we facilitate the ability for them to go have a weekend at an Airbnb. Even if it's just one night, we're able to offer that to them. So we try to make that happen as well because they're very tired.
I can't overstate how precious that is and how lucky I feel to have that. I'll always be grateful to you guys for that, and I continue to be because it's crucial.
And I feel like it's kind of a unique experience with talking to other people with small children that, like, when I am not here, for the night, I can truly not be here for them. Like, I am not checking my phone. I'm not worried about I know that my baby is 100% cared for, loved, safe. So everything is fine. I don't have to check my phone. I don't have to. It is even more than to me. It's even more than a grandparent keeping my kid. Like, these are other parents, so I don't have to be on. I can check out, not check out, but I can be present. I can be present somewhere else in a way that it sounds like is not a common experience for other mothers. It sounds like other mothers don't have that. Like, if we're like, no, I don't have to have one finger still on the pulse back home to make sure everything is okay. So,
I feel lucky, and I feel so much gratitude for that. And also, my heart breaks for parents that are doing this, like single parents, especially parents that are just doing it like the atomic family style, just the two of them. I don't know how you do it, and
we appreciate the fact that you do.
I appreciate the fact that you do, but you are made of sterner stuff than me. I don't know how you do it and how you figure it out. It's incredible to me.
Yeah. I love that. I think just something that kind of jumps out to me in this is how you've all, like, whether it's around raising a child or food or chores, that you all seem to sort of step. It's not this every person for themselves. Like, well, I'm going to get as much as I can for me, and the rest of you will all just figure it out, right? It could be, I could see where it would be, you could flip into a mindset of, well, hey, the kid's not mine, so I'm sorry if you're burned out and tired all the time. You shouldn't have had a kid, right? But I think I hear a lot more of the mentality of, well, we all live together and we want to keep living together. And so by us taking the kid once or twice a month, that makes everybody in the house sort of lifted up.
Yes.
And the whole house lifts up, and everybody does better because of that. It's sort of this, it's not about getting yours. It's about lifting up the whole house together.
Well, it's because we're family and not roommates.
Yeah.
And
a team. We use team.
We team a lot too, And I like family because we're all a little stuck with each other. But we're stuck with each other by choice.
Yeah.
Like, every single person in this house could walk out at any point. Like, all of it, none of us are trapped here. We all are fortunate enough to be able to, if that was how things had to go, it could.
And we designed it that way.
Yeah.
And none of us want to. We all want to be, even when crap is bad, we all still want to be here. We all still want to wade through it. We still want to deal with the fact that because we're family, we get on each other's nerves like families do. We have the same types of arguments like families do, but we have all the same big successes as families do too. And we don't typically have the roommate issues because we don't feel like roommates.
On the flip side of that, I might say something a little controversial. Go for it. We're not a democracy. It's not. There's 5 adults and 3 of us voted that, we're getting chocolate milk instead of strawberry milk. So the 2 of you who like strawberry milk would just have to deal until next. Like, it's not like that. We spend a ton of time talking, which, oh my God, talking about things in poly, like, you never heard of that.
What?
But like, we talk it out because we all go together. Like, we come to a consensus decision and act based on, what's the best outcome for all of us, or what's the least minimally harm outcome for all of us. We don't make a decision until we've reached that kind of consensus. It's not a democracy at all, which is kind of controversial to say right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it really speaks to the collaborative nature. I mean, taking it all the way back to, right, we all sort of have roles. And I know, Jason, they've thrown out, you're the sort of the project manager. And on David and Rebecca's episode, they talked about sort of Christy and Rebecca being the planners with maybe a little more foresight. But yeah, you aren't all siloed in a sense that you're just like, well, hey, I do the project management, so I'm not responsible for thinking ahead, right? Like that. Nobody's sitting there just shedding responsibility.
No, that's what we spend half a dinner bitching about.
Oh my God. Well, the funny thing is, I've heard the phrase holocratic. It's a different form of organization. It's basically like, you do what you're good at, and I'll do what I'm good at. There is going to be stuff that neither of us wants to do, and we figure it out. There's no like hierarchical structure telling people what to do. It's just you independently identify the needs. Like, I didn't want to become a Picasso at breaking down cardboard boxes, but I did. Because I think that we made, and it's something that I minded doing it less than everybody else.
Yeah.
It bothers you more than
it bothers me more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make art out of this.
Yes.
And that's a breaking down thing. So holocratic, I think, is the term. And I've heard of companies trying to run themselves that way.
I love that.
Totally. And that's such a thing lately me and Rebecca have been talking about, because we talk a lot. There's a book that it's on my to listen list. I've heard mentioned a lot, called Fair Play. It's about like emotional and mental labor. It's pretty much a hetero-mono relationship is where it came from. But it's kind of like how typically the cis women carry more of the emotional and mental labor in relationships than the cis male people in heteronormative relationships, mononormative relationships. But me and Rebecca have also talked a lot about, we do have very active partnerships and partners that are very involved and engaged. And the line between where it's emotional labor or where it's preference. Because me and Rebecca are for sure the most particular type A,
Not in a negative way.
but we like things.
Fastidious.
We like things how we like them. But like one of the things that I've realized is that so I like the bar in the kitchen completely clear. And that's my preference. And that's my not clean, but like that level of tidiness. That's a preference. So it would be, to me, for someone who is not a no clutter person, for someone who naturally has clutter and naturally stacks. David, if there's a flat surface, he's going to stack stuff on it. But there is no moral difference in him. What if he told me that he wanted surfaces with stack things on them? And so I needed to get over it. And I needed to just accept that flat surfaces were going to have stacked things on them.
Because that's how he prefers it.
Because that's how he prefers it.
I have 5 stacks of paper on my desk right now.
But we talk
You're not alone, David. You're not alone.
No, but we talk about how it's actually, that is a preference. So when we say that the bar must be clear with nothing on it, it's not a cleanliness issue. That's our preference. We like nothing on the bar. And it would be equally disarming for them to come to us and say, now you guys must live always with stuff on the bar. So that, where is it mental labor or work, and where is it preference?
Yeah. And like what Christy and I have talked a lot about recently, especially, is like one thing I've been working on just this year is like, okay, if I have a preference on something, I'm just going to do it the way I prefer. I know that David doesn't care if the bar is clean or...
I care that it's clean. I don't care if it's cluttered.
Okay. Clean versus dirty is a different thing. We're talking cluttered versus uncluttered.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't care if it's cluttered or uncluttered, but I do, I'm going to be the one that puts in more work because it does matter to me.
Yeah.
So there's also been a balance of finding, like, David and I share a room. I generally do the laundry and put it away. I make the bed, I'll clean the room because I want it to look a specific way. And it's really unfair for me to ask David to make it look that way because that's what I want.
Sure.
His preference would be different. He's happy with the way I do it. So I'm like, okay, if you're happy with the way I'm doing it and I want it done a specific way, I'm just going to put in the work because I'm going to be unhappy if you do it.
And to be clear, let me say this so it's said out loud. None of these things are like set rules.
No.
None of these are set rules. So there are absolutely times I will go through and declutter the barn because I know how much they both prefer that.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
And you guys weren't saying otherwise to me.
No.
But and then like the chores that Rebecca typically does, we will swap. But there are also things that there's chores I do that makes my skin crawl when I think about somebody else doing them, like
exactly
organizing the workshop and garage. Like,
right.
Get out.
So, and that's a very real conversation lately because mental and emotional labor carried usually by women is a real thing. And so we've just been really picking apart and digging down to like, what is the like mental and emotional labor that we feel like we're carrying that perhaps you guys could pick up, and what is preferences that no one has to carry. It doesn't actually matter at all to anyone's day-to-day life. And there's not a ball getting dropped. There's not a
right or wrong.
I like it this way. Like grocery shopping. I am the person that does the grocery shopping. 90%?
99.
And now it's the point where I don't want someone else to do the grocery shopping because there's like about a list of 10 to 20 things that I know we probably need every week that half the time don't make it on the list.
Did we forget?
Yep.
But I know in my head that we need those every week. And so it's not that someone else couldn't do that job. I just don't want to give it to them.
Not just that. Doing it for
my
sure.
little talons are in this so deep.
Just
I
to
just
back
want to
up
give it
to
a
like early COVID, Christy and Jason were the two that went to Costco every 2 weeks and like brought home the mother load of food.
When we could go to Costco.
When they could go to Costco. So like Christy has been part of the like household shopping for 4.5 years. And
You're experienced.
And you know, like
Skill.
tomorrow is a rare experience where Christy and I are shopping together because I have a short day of work. So I'm like, I will of course help you with shopping.
Don't shop. You don't go to grocery stores the day before Thanksgiving without at least one person to back you up.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a very, very good rule.
But also and the thing that has evolved is that like me and Rebecca have also decided that we're going to make Costco, our monthly Costco trip, kind of instead of me doing it with a cranky toddler.
Before going to the secondary grocery store.
We're going to make it like a girl's day, a date day on one day of the weekend once a month. And we're going to do that together. I can totally do it by myself, but it would be much more fun to not have a baby with me and do it with her. So, So it can change and evolve.
Yeah,
Yep.
totally.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think the other thing that the role fluidity is kind of like highlighted, at least for me, is where there are things that are being gatekept by both genders, like things like laundry, childcare, doing heavy like demolition work. Like we've had some projects out here just kind of being out more rural where we've had to just have some like brown doing stuff. And I think having those experiences has highlighted where we gatekeep. Like what are the traditional man roles? What are the traditional woman roles? And like, it's been awesome to me to see kind of the fluidity that we can flip between them. Like, David and I will do childcare so that the girls can go into town and have a day, and we will feed them, clothe them, change diapers, do all of that stuff. We do it every day.
Your parent.
Parenting. I'm not doing parenting, but David does childcare.
Yes.
Often on parenting. Like you contribute as well. But it's like, it's not, well, I'm a guy, I'm not supposed to do that. There was, on the flip side, I think there were, what was it, like breaking down boxes, or like, I think we were demolishing something, mucking out the chicken coop or something. Like, Christy, you wanted to just like do something physical. You go weed the garden or
the garden
tilling.
Yeah, tilling the garden.
Oh yeah, the garden, baby.
We have a vegetable garden. So like,
because of course we do.
I was parenting. I was taking care of the kids and making sure that he was taken care of so that Christy could go, labor in the sun like a beast.
Yep.
I mean, it looks like it feels natural. It's fluid. We just kind of step up to fill in the gaps where everybody sees it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally.
Because just listening
That's
to
an
it,
excellent.
we do the shopping, we do this and that, and we're very fastidious. I'm like, yeah, that's one part of it, but the other flip side of it is like y'all get physical too.
Oh yeah, we
And
totally
we're-
swap the norm gender role.
And although we all have our own specialties, I think, like I was saying earlier, we have our own superpowers. Anyone in this house could run the house by themselves for a few days. Like they know exactly what goes into the cycles
totally.
and the rituals and the needs of this house, such that everybody else could leave for a few days, and it would be totally fine.
Yeah.
Sound magical.
It's interesting. It's a conversation Emma and I have had just in the way we kind of framed it. And I kind of picked up on elements of this. What you were all saying is there are certain tasks that we have different thresholds for. So for me, my threshold on dishes in the sink is like much lower than Emma's. So if there's like a fork in there, I walk through and I put it in the dishwasher. So I can either get annoyed that she leaves a fork in the sink, or I can just understand that, like, once it got to be a full sink, she would do something about it. And if I want it to be different,
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about.
All of our thresholds for different things are different. So Jason's threshold for the trash is much, much lower than mine, clearly.
Yep.
I literally I know I took the trash out when they were not here. But that is not a big night. I definitely did. But that's if that's not a gender thing, that's just a role that we do.
But here's my personal favorite statistic when it comes to understanding chores and what different people are good at and stuff. Rebecca, how many poopy diapers have you changed?
One. One.
He is 2.5. You know how many diapers he is?
Well, you're the father. You should.
Agreed. I opted in to help. I didn't opt in to help with every aspect of it.
You know what? Honestly, the last time he had a really poopy diaper, I almost threw up, and I just couldn't handle it. I'm weak.
You held it. I was like,
I'm aware. I'm weak.
It's a different threshold. It's just a different threshold.
You know what? I let him scream in my face all day long. It's fine.
Yes.
He can scream in my face as long as Dada takes care of the poopy diaper.
I love it. So we've talked a lot about how you've all done this miraculous dance for the last few years, and not like you just walked into it one day and you were great at it. That it's taken a ton of work. And we were curious, what are some, for each of you, maybe one of the biggest challenges that each of you kind of came up against as you went from either I was living by myself or we were just a dyad to now there's a whole lot of us in one space.
Well, I guess I'll start. I think for me, it's been years in the making, because we floated together for 4.5 years, and I think this year was the first year I really put in some work on kind of meeting people where they are instead of expecting where I want them to be, because it's hard living with so many adults, and we have a household, and there's lots of moving parts all the time. And I know that for me personally, I've locked into what my expectations were of other people. And really, a lot of times those expectations weren't really fair for those other people, and they didn't sign up for those expectations. So kind of going back to me commenting about the bedroom stuff with the laundry and making the bed and cleaning the bedroom, meeting David where he is and seeing that where I want things doesn't have to be where he wants things. But if he's happy with where things are that I want, then I'm okay doing that. So kind of just, I don't know how to end that sentence. Yep, that's it.
That's it.
Easy done.
Excellent.
Yeah, just meeting people where they are. And I think society makes us expect certain things from people, which not always is things we should be expecting. And so what's really helped me is just like really meeting people where they are.
Yeah.
People have certain things that like hold them back, and just allowing that to be true and okay. And that's not a wrong thing. That's just where they are.
For sure. Well, I can see too, right? If you lived by yourself for so long and your vision was always to live by yourself, right? You can have when somebody comes into your home, you're like, well, this is what I expect. You're in my home.
God.
And you can have those expectations, but now it's our home rather than my home. And it's very different.
Control. Like, when I lived alone, I left for work and I came back home from work and everything was exactly where I left it. And I loved that. That is not the case here. Like I don't feel like my stuff particularly is ever moved into a place that I'm not expecting, but like, things move, things change. The landscape of our living room and dining room changes constantly. I mean, because we cook almost every night and we eat dinner every night. And so like,
and a tiny human.
And we have then there's the tiny human. And so like the living room, dining room, kitchen area is like a constant moving field of things. It's looks different every day. Yeah. And I think for me, like a big struggle has just being like, okay with the fact that it's okay to look different every day.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
So you want me to go now?
Yeah. Yeah, next.
Okay. One of the biggest adjustments, I think, or biggest struggles I've had with all of us living together the way we do now is I'm always seen. Everywhere I go, everything I do, it feels like is always seen, right? And even if and that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's watching. It doesn't mean that just because I feel that way, Christy and Rebecca are like taking notes on David does that at 10:43. But it feels like that a lot. It feels like, and it was a pretty big jump. While I've always lived with people my whole life, me and Christy have been living together for over a decade now. Me and Christy, for a long part of our relationship, worked opposite shifts or would go off and hang out with other people, or it was just the two of us. So there was real easy to get space. Mm-hmm. That's less so. And even when you find the space now, sometimes you won't have the time to go along with it, right? Like, I'm sitting in the den. I've got the Xbox on. Crap. I can hear the boy having a meltdown. And so then it gets up and you move on, right? And that's better than when somebody comes and asks, like, hey, we need help with something. Because it doesn't matter if they actually need the help or not, or I started to do something and that moment got interrupted and now I have to change course to do something else. And I love doing that. I like helping. I like being a part and all of that. But it's because there's so many more factors. It can feel sometimes like you have less option, less choice, less chance. But most of that is mind games we play with ourselves, because typically at the end of the day, Gus is in bed by 8:00. I can do whatever I want until then. Like everything chills and we all do still get the time, but it's that feeling, because while all feelings are valid, the stories they're telling aren't always true.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's been my hardest thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll go. Chris, asking for and accepting help has been a huge uphill struggle for me. And I'm a lot further along than I used to be, but I've got a long way to go. And I recognize that I can be in midpoint on the mountain.
You've gotten really good at accepting help.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's something I've consciously really worked quite hard at. And, even when I'm at my most sleep deprived or stressed, and or sleep deprived and stressed. Like, you know, I tend to not be as good at accepting help. But yeah, I mean, like Rebecca, I lived for almost a decade. I think for like a decade by myself. I had my own condo. My family is all abroad, or at least my biological family, they're all abroad. So for a long, long time, I was just used to solving problems myself, or learning how to do things myself, or finding somebody to teach me how to do something myself. Like prior to meeting Christy, my plan was to be discovered a desiccated corpse, like far out in Joshua Tree in my own little cabin. Nobody would see me for like weeks. They're like, yeah, that guy, he was always just talking about like LSD trips and making electronic music all the time. Now look at him, he's a raisin. That was the plan. And then, you know, as life does, it puts you on a different course. So yeah, asking for help has been a tough thing. And I've had to really kind of examine my own attitudes about, well, what does it mean when people accept help? Does that make them weak or less than or inferior? And what does that mean when you can't do something by yourself? Does that mean that you're weak and less than and inferior? And I had to like let a lot of that go, partly because I cannot do it all myself. And also it would be such a slap in the face for anybody that doesn't have the freaking like abundance of help and resources available to them at their fingertips like I do here. It would be so insulting. So yeah, I had to do a real kind of attitude readjustment around that topic.
Yeah. I just relate to that one so much, Jason. I mean, obviously my living situation is different, but when you said it's a slap in the face, I think the thing that turned it around for me was in some ways it's a slap in the face to the people who have offered help.
Yeah.
And that's the other part, because I had to like think about that. Like, well, when I offer somebody help and they turn it down, I'm like,
right. Really? Yeah. I can only offer help. I can't ever accept help because that makes me weak. And it's like, well, what are you telling somebody when you offer them help then? You know? Like,
yeah.
You have to re-examine it from both ends.
And you're not telling them they're weak.
No, you don't.
You're like, you need just more help than what you have.
I want to,
or I have extra and I would love to share it with you.
Yeah. And we all have different like capacities on different days. And so there's some days that you have more to give and other days you have less.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hi, Christy.
Love it.
I know.
I know.
Yeah. She's been directing this whole thing. Like, you go.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
She was stalling.
Well, and they can help me because, I mean, living communal has been my dream for a long time.
Yeah.
Way before we had people who, like, way before. So communal living has been my big dream. So I'm really, what is my struggle? Help me.
I mean, you're struggling right now. I do not have an answer for you.
Okay. No, I'm not. I'm just
also come a long way in asking for help.
Asking for help.
You know,
asking for help is probably a big thing for me because
and communicating your struggles.
Yeah. Like I think a big thing for Jason and Christy is the fact that they have, you know, Gus, and I think even though we've all opted in on this, I think there is still times when they're like, we just feel guilty that he's being loud or he's not sleeping well or X, Y, and Z. And it's like, yeah, but we all chose this. We all opted in to the unknown of childcare for a toddler. I've never wanted kids. I'm happy not having kids, but I'm like, I can't even explain the joy I get from watching Gus grow up and watching all of his day-to-day improvements. And like, he's talking more and more. So he's learning all these words right now. And so like, he says all of our names now. I got the first I love you. And I'm going to say that for the rest of my life.
She did.
And so like,
and you know what? You get to deal with the first crusty sock too.
Sure. Ew. Jason.
Oh, you know what? No, but like, but I have a thing.
Yes, so you have a thing. Good.
So you, and also gross, but not you. It wasn't gross for you. It was for you. But, I guess my biggest struggle is forever and for always, good or bad. I have a script in my mind of what I think people will or will not do. And, people just don't follow the script.
They're so rude.
What was that?
It's actually very rude. They don't follow the goddamn script, good or bad. It's not always a bad script. It's not always a good script. It's just a script in my brain, in which I think that I've ran all of the probabilities and what will probably happen. And I mean, I'm fairly accurate. That makes it no, it makes it worse. It makes it worse if you've got like 60% accuracy because you think you're really good at it, and then they go off script. And then they go off script, and you're like, "Well, where did that come from? That's not what I thought was going to happen at all."
It does make your mind blue screen a little bit.
It does.
And when something comes out of left field, you're like, hey,
I'm not good with left field. So my biggest struggle has been I have a script in my head that I think that people will go on.
And you hate ad-libbing and improv.
I don't love those. I don't enjoy those things. I don't at all. I like known things.
Well, which I'm
You like the plan.
Yeah.
And follow the plan.
Oh my God. You gotta love a plan. Can you tell that I'm a recovering type A personality? I don't just love a plan. I like a plan and plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like the sub plans to the plans.
Yeah.
They have bullet points and they have clip notes under the bullet points and clip notes. And only other people whose brains work that way really feel it in their soul. Other people kind of nod and you're like, yeah, you don't understand. But there's a twinkle in the eye, Ben, that you see and you're like, oh no, you understand.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, and I'm also way too lazy to create it. So it's a real conundrum for me.
Oh, so you understand the drive, but the work to
my problem is actually that it never looks right to me. So there's an element that I can't clear the hurdle of making it look the way.
Oh,
I don't have the skills to create the vision in my mind, and so I get frustrated and I give up. Yeah,
so you keep because you're like, oh no, we have to like tweak it. And where do you land on that, Emma?
You're laughing.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. I definitely like a plan, and I like to make a plan. Sometimes I'm not always good at the timeliness of making that plan. And I have every intention to make the plan, but
there's a list that has the plan making on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is one of nature's greatest jokes that type A personalities like Christy do not marry other type A's.
My work list.
Yes.
No. So I was actually I love you both. I was joking because like the twinkle and like there is a like tortured twinkle in the eye of the people who are like, oh, I feel that so deep in my soul, and the people who like feel it but don't feel
the capital
attached by it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Reached by it. Like,
This episode is brought to you by Trello. Oh, Trello organize anything.
By Trello. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe the cliff notes on that for me, I think, is this: when somebody gives me a plan like you're talking about, what actually happens is I look at it and very quickly it's like somebody took a highlighter that lights up and highlighted everything that doesn't make sense in it, and that's all I can see. And so when I'm making one, I make it and I'm like, okay, it's like 95% there, but it's not quite good enough. And then I go back to the drawing board again and again and again and again, and to the point where it became futile, and I should have just never had the plan, because I would have been like, so that's where I've landed. I've come full circle on like, fuck the plan, because I'm never going to get it right. So
I still like a plan.
That's why I play video games.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I've not got to fuck the plan point yet. My little white knuckles holding the plan.
We're trying to midwife her to that point. I'll be the doula for that, to get her to birth the fuck the plan.
I I just need a plan. The plan can change. The plan can change. It can die in a fire. Hey,
We've got 2 men on the screen here.
Well, so, all right, so this no, I actually had a question just for you, Christy, because you pulled on this a minute ago when you were saying you were struggling to come up with what has been your biggest challenge because this has been something you've wanted. And I'm curious, you've had a many years, maybe decades long dream of what you're doing. Yeah. And I'm curious, now that you're doing it, how did it line up?
Oh, it's so much better than I hoped for.
Aww.
It is. It's harder than I thought it would be.
It can be very hard.
It's really hard.
We were talking at dinner tonight about, there are some days when all of us have bad days at work. It's a rough day. It's too stressful. Christy has been dealing with the baby all day and he's screaming out. Her boss is such an asshole. So there's beauty in the chaos, but there's also the chaos can be really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there's 5 of us together, even if we're all maxed out, have no spoons left, are just exhausted, just holding that space for each other makes it worthwhile. That's how I look at it.
Totally.
It's definitely not easy co-living with so many adults,
But it is better than I hoped. It is better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Just the space that we all give each other and the space that we all show up in.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man, life's just easier. Life's just easier when you don't do it alone. Things can be hard and things can be lonely, but it's offset by being in community with people and feeling the sense of the common goal. The common goal of that we want to live here in the home that we have. We want to raise a child together. We want to raise chickens. We want to grow a garden. We want to share. We want to have dinner every night.
Yeah.
The shared vision. Mm-hmm. Even when that vision changes, we renegotiate the way that vision has changed. It's better than I thought it would be.
This has evolved far more than I ever expected it to evolve. I don't even think, when we did our interview 4 years ago, I don't even think any of us thought this far ahead because it was such survival mode and we enjoy living together. We're good right now. We got this through COVID. And then
the world is dying. Who knows?
And who knows what was going to happen. But there's a comfort to me in knowing that we all want this together. And we do renegotiate because obviously what our household looks like today is very different than it looked like 2 years ago when the baby had just been born and 3 years ago when there was no baby in sight. So I think we've done a really good job of rolling with the changes and moving with the changes and growing with them and really kind of taking them in as they are and figuring out how it works for the 5 of us adults because 5 adults is a lot in one household.
Yeah.
So, they've called me the project manager before. It's so one of the rituals that we done much less frequently, but we have done kind of on a bit of a cycle. We mentioned that we moved quite a lot. And one of the things that has really struck me about our house is our ability to move and act with one mind independently, which is, it sounds like an oxymoron, but I've seen it happen. It's wild. So one of the rituals that we got into the habit of doing was that we were so tired when we were renting houses is that because of the state of the housing market, landlords were constantly raising rent and wanting us to move out instead of renewing a lease because the housing market is broken, or at least it was where we lived. So we were finding that every year, right around the same time, we were having to start figuring out, okay, well, where are we going to move to next? Where are we going to move to next? Where are we going to move to next? And so we started kind of getting in the habit of calling a house meeting and being like, all right, we need to plan where we're going to move to next. And rather than immediately jump into, it's got to have a hot tub, it's got to have, like flood lighting and parking for 3 cars and stuff, we would start with the question, well, how does everybody feel now? And how does everybody want to feel? Yeah. Like, how do you feel now? And how do you want to feel with this move?
How do you want to feel in your new house?
Right. How do you want to feel in this new place that we land? And by kind of getting that down in writing and having that shared vision, and then of course we would go through, all right, what are the wants and the needs? Like, what are the amenities that we absolutely need? What are the things that we would really like to get in the next place, in our next living situation? But that was more logistical. Like the feeling is what was kind of the North Star.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't failed us yet. Like, I think we've done it like 4 times.
Feeling
has always been the compass that's pointed the way to where we've landed. And each time we've moved, it's gotten better. So we got here, and it's like the best place that I've ever lived. And it feels the best that I've ever been, whether it was in my condo by myself or living with these people as well. Just figuring out how you want to feel gives you that compass, because dude, the stuff comes and goes. And I think the more rigid you get about, like, it has to have these X, Y, and Z material things or material amenities in place, that kind of closes off avenues of opportunity that you may not have considered, or it closes off the space that would be filled by a wonderful surprise. But the feeling is the compass that constantly points towards that better place, I think.
Yeah. Oh, no. And babe, that is the magic. Like, that is exactly it. Because here, how I feel, I might be absolutely cracked out and exhausted and have been awake for way more hours than I've been asleep the night before. But when I'm in the kitchen in the morning making coffee, looking at the sun, making the mountain pink, and hearing and watching the deer run around, and hearing Rebecca and David waking up and the baby playing, and that I feel held, and I feel safe, and I feel loved, and I feel home. I feel home. And that is how I wanted to feel. Like, I feel that.
Yeah.
So lead with the feeling. Don't worry about the other stuff. Like, yeah, you got needs, but don't fixate on the concrete picture of what it looks like too much. Just, it's a feeling. Chase the feel.
Yeah.
And sometimes that compass is going to point in the dark cave, and you're going to be like, no, there are bears in that cave. But the compass is kind of like uncompromising that way. It's like, yeah. And when you get to the other end of the cave, you'll know that you can survive bears.
Yeah.
It can be uncompromising sometimes, but like, it never points in the wrong direction. Sometimes you'll take the detour because of logistics, because of circumstance, whatever. But like, the compass is that feeling compass is always pointing in the right direction.
Yeah. Which I feel like the next question I was going to ask is, what is of each of yours like favorite thing about living together, which you kind of just answered. But if there's any more that any of you would like to add, please do.
I think it's the company. I've always been a person that's really liked my space. I grew up in a big family. There was 6 of us with my parents and everything. And so like, I think as a child, I missed my space. But I get that. And I also get all of the company that I want now. And like, there's something really nice about like knowing that like every morning I get up, I shower, and then I get dressed, and then I come upstairs, and Christy and Jason and the baby are usually in the kitchen doing breakfast, and I get to hang out with them. And I actually really enjoy my mornings, because while I generally get to work pretty quickly, like I still enjoy all the time I see with Gus, all the time I see with Christy and Jason. And like, I like to say a lot with David that like, I choose this every day. this is my choice every day. I wake up and I'm like, this is what I want. This house, these people, these partners, like this is exactly what I want in my life.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, you guys covered just about everything I could think.
Yeah, try to top that.
My favorite thing is getting to watch. It's a thing that I had not expected, hadn't been on my radar as to even think of. But the unexpected joy of getting to watch the people you love constantly grow.
Mm.
You get to see changes. You get to, in a way that for some reason I feel like in a typical monogamous relationship I didn't see. I've had years-long monogamous relationships where I would have seen that person changing, but something about that kind of environment makes it harder to see the change. Like anybody who's been in a relationship for over 5 years has gone through that readjustment, right? But in the group setting, I think because I get to see everybody reflected off of everybody else, I get to see those changes clearer. I get to and celebrate them when they're happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
That's a good one.
And I think mine is just, home and creating home. And I feel so deeply rooted, and I feel like we are constantly growing something and building something. And it's the shared vision and community. And like it's been a long standing joke because I am actually very introverted, and I really just want to get people to come back here. Like, y'all, if you ever move to Colorado, we have a full game closet, and I cook delicious food. And I really just want people to come back here, and then it'll be a great time.
We will come visit. Don't worry.
So I feel like by having the people I love most in the world and my best friends live with me, it's the best.
Yeah.
I just have a deep sense of home and community.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, you said
It was what's your favorite thing? And you had already
my bad.
And you were the one that answered first.
Well, you
before they-
answered it.
I'll tack on a little appendix.
An addendum.
An addendum. Thank you. It might sound a bit self-centered, but I actually, one of my favorite things about living this way is feeling like I'm known from 360 degrees. When I was living by myself, it got kind of weird. Like, I'm not knocking it. It was a great time in my life, and I did a ton of stuff, and it was very free and open period, full of possibilities, which was great. But like, I had nobody to really reflect off of constantly because I was living by myself. So it's like almost like I was projecting this image of myself out into the world, but not really getting much feedback as to like, well, is that authentic? Does it capture everything about me? And living this way, I'm surrounded by my favorite people on the planet. And each of them has a different take on who I am, and they reflect it back to me. So I feel like I know myself more in 3 dimensions.
That's such a good answer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But by the strength of the feedback, like I'm getting constant feedback from the people that I live with about who I am and, what I do well and what I could probably work on a bit. So yeah, it's like I have a bit of I feel like I have a more 3-dimensional image of myself in my mind, thanks to the people that I live with.
Yeah.
Well,
I love it.
In the words of Rebecca, such a good answer. Damn. I love it. I love it how it started with like, good luck topping that to like, son of a bitch.
I loved all of your answers.
Yeah.
And I know that obviously we could ask you a million more questions.
Excuse me. I just inhaled my wine.
Don't inhale the wine.
All right, I'm here.
He's here.
Okay, you're good. You're good.
You, Chris, like, is.
Don't edit that out.
But yeah, put some auto tune on that shit. You got to bang with the
I know that we could obviously talk to all four of you all night,
Yes.
but I'm curious, is there anything else that you want to make sure to get out there on this episode?
I don't know. I just feel like I think that there's some, I kind of touch on this on David and my podcast, but like there is so much fear around just going for what you want.
Yes.
And I think that there's really something to be said for the people that just jump for it, because I had no idea this is what I wanted. And I just jumped in and I never looked back. I don't ever feel like I questioned my choices with this group of people. And I just wish that more people would just jump for it, because it just really feels like so many people hold themselves back from fear.
100%. It's when you jump into the abyss and find that it's a feather bed.
Yes.
Oh, Terrence.
Damn.
Oh, it's
Dance. Yeah. That. What
Yeah.
Christy said.
I didn't say it. I stole it from.
No, it's like my favorite Terrence McKenna quote is, it's when you throw yourself into the abyss and realize that there's a feather bed at the bottom. That nature loves courage, and it lifts it up. It doesn't grind you down for being brave. I'll go one step further on the pretentious meter. I think it was Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching. When I let go of who I am, I open up to who I can become. And you have to, like, this shit is so hard, and it continues to be hard. It's not easy. Like, we struggle
awful days.
But like, the thing I love about all of these people here on this podcast is they are continually letting go of who they are to grasp hold of what they could become. And it's like what David was saying, like, it's the privilege of being able to live with people that you love and watch them grow.
Yeah.
But it requires sacrifice. You have to let go of who you think you are to find out who you can become.
I was really rigid before. Me opening myself up to even living with just David and Christy was a huge step for me. And like thinking about like going from like being by myself to living with two people to 3 to 4.
We did a trial run.
Yeah, we did a trial run pre-COVID just to make sure that it would work for me, because I was not sure. And
it was a 30-day free trial.
Yeah, 30.
30-day free trial.
Yeah. And I feel like I could never, or it can never happen, or the fear of like the leaning into the unknown and the embrace of the unknown opens the door to so much more. Because even like when you think that the thing that you want it opens the door to so many possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
We limit ourselves so much.
Mm-hmm.
All it takes is everything that you think you are.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
It's like a
way, but it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just, yeah.
Love you.
Love you guys. It's just lovely. I think also finding people that want the same things as you. One of the things that I truly believe that makes our household work is that the 5 of us adults really want a very close to the same thing. It's not like one of us is wanting to go out and party all the time and the other 4 of us are like home. Like, we all want the same kind of household. We all want the same feel when we are home. And I think that makes a big difference in it. If you find a group of people that you all want the exact same things and you want to be together, then do it. Wanting the same things is a huge component of it, because if half of us wanted to be going out and partying all the time, it wouldn't work.
But that goes back to it's not wanting the same thing. That we all want to feel the same way.
We all want to feel the same
We all want
way.
to feel
Yes.
the same.
Yes.
Christy, I've heard you say it's like we're in the same season of our lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or different,
Yeah.
or different seasons, but we
within the household, it's all of us working together for the same sense of feeling, the same sense of being, while also not necessarily being in the same season.
Yes.
It's a vibe, y'all.
Yeah.
It's a vibe.
It's a
Love it.
vibe, y'all.
Whatever the kids are using these days.
Yeah.
It's aesthetic, a vibe. All right.
When I roll with them.
David, go for it.
What I would say is that the real secret transcends poly, relationship styles, monogamy, whatever. It's community. It's finding your community. We are lucky and fortunate enough that we've been able to find people who we mesh so closely with that we can be in this close, tight-knit of a community. But it's finding your community. That's one of the things that's so fantastic about this podcast and everything you guys are doing is you give a fairly disparate group of people as far as geography and everything is concerned, a great meeting place to find that community. We work so well together within this home because we work as a family, as a community. And most of the time, we're all up for putting the community first.
Yeah.
Same vibe, same tribe, baby.
As Jason puts it, you know.
Also, psychedelics. What? But they help.
Don't hurt, you know.
They don't hurt.
Like you sound out. In unison, where you're like, they're not required, but both of you together say, but they do help you. Oh, this is going to be fun. So to edit, I don't edit.
Well, it's a good thing none of us have to edit it, right?
Right.
Well, it has, like always, been a delight talking with the four of you, and we just can't wait to get this out into the world, and we can't wait to come to your wedding, and we can't wait to do this again.
Didn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
I know. Well, that'll be part 3 of the 4 of you.
Yeah, that's
You guys had a common live cast.
Right.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Live feed. Live stream.
We'll just walk around with a recorder, capturing all of the goodness.
Oh, my
and-
God.
Soundbite podcast.
Won't that be interesting with our families?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But he does have to try to wrap this.
No, this was amazing, and just a ton of gratitude to all of you for being so open with your lives, sharing them with us, and not just open but vulnerable, right? Like that you've talked about, it's not just a walk in the woods. That it takes a lot of work, but at the end of the day, it's about the feeling, it's about the vibe, and I think that's what's amazing. So
It's about the vibe, y'all.
It's about the vibe. I think that's what we.
Christy, send a song to the MeWe group for that one. Or it was just,
Mighty now.
Mighty now. Yeah.
You're gonna get it on a pillow.
There we go. Amazing.
Perfect.
All right. Well, you all go get some sleep, and we're going to go do the same. And we will talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Great talking to you guys. Thanks everyone for listening.
Bye.
And we're back. Oh, that was such a fun conversation. Thank you to all 4 of you for coming on the show multiple times, for sharing your story, and just for putting all of these amazing information and, I don't know, vulnerability out there.
Totally. And for having a guest room, because
Yes.
Em and I were thinking of coming and doing a trial live-in to see.
Oh, this is news for me.
Do you think 8 adults or 7 adults and a toddler? I think that's a new TV show.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. We'll just live stream a podcast each day.
I feel like that would be entertaining.
I don't, no doubt about it. All right. So Change the Sheets will be over soon. And yeah, thank you all for coming on and sharing your stories. And we can't wait for the next update.
A quick reminder for anyone listening, our next virtual speedfriending event is coming up this Saturday, December 14th, 2024. Come join us, sign up on our website under the events tab, and we will have another one in January. But come join us now in December. We want you here
We want you.
this weekend.
I'm back on the guest room thing.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, did you know they have a whole closet full of board games?
I did.
So We'll have to bring our board games in the comments.
And
See
join
we'll have to
them.
fill up a new closet. All right. I'm getting away from it. Let it go, Finn.
Let it go.
Let it go. All right. Well, we want to see you this weekend at our virtual speed friending, and we want to see you next week right here for our interview with Allie. It's an amazing conversation as always. Allie's not part of this group. We're breaking away. It's been a month of this, and we're ready. We're ready for somebody new. Mm-hmm. We're non-monogamous in that way.
I think that's it.
That's all.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.